Did you know that the Wicked book covers look like this? And that's just the start of it. Wicked! Oh, wow, wow. Why do I sound more like Tarzan? Let's talk about the movie based on a musical, based on a fanfic, based on a movie, based on a book. That broke up marriages, is upsetting people's eyes, upsetting the leads, and upsetting the media literate for being too woke from the point of view of me, a non-theatre kid who used to fantasize about performing Les Mis on stage, surprising all of my bullies and haters in school who also really hates The Wizard of Oz. That was really long. Wicked is the 2024 adaptation of the 4th longest running musical in Broadway history. If you've seen The Wizard of Oz, and if you haven't, it's about Dorothy, a 12-year-old murderer who would kill for a pair of shoes. She gets swept up in a tornado and crash lands in North Korea and... What? Oh, wrong plot. She crash lands in the magical land of Oz, and instead of using Google Maps, befriends a bunch of companions to try and find her way home. And it's about how the evil Wicked Witch of the West, who is Elphaba, the antagonist, came to fulfill her destiny along with Glinda, the good witch. It's a tale of friendship, moral ambiguity, and corruption, alongside banger tunes. Let's talk about the mess that was Wicked. And now, although I do look like breaking news, I'm not a journalist. You can break away from this joke now. Why are you hanging on for so long? I won't be detailing everything that went down. This is just how I experienced it, right? BW, before Wicked. It all starts with the casting. Cynthia Erivo was cast as Elphaba. Cynthia is a Grammy-winning, Tony-winning darling of stage. She's best known for her role in The Color Purple. And every single time I watch her singing I'm Here, I cry. Ariana got cast to play Glinda the Good Witch. It's probably her biggest acting role since Victorious, although her role as Catwoman in her own music video was something. Ariana was one of the biggest soul drivers of buzz for me. As always with Ariana, people had a lot to say. Her true fans knew that this was one of the roles of her dreams, right? But Tracy 184 was doing a seasonal color analysis, telling the world about how, this blondie's washing her out. And then we had the breaking up of marriages. There were rumors that she had got into a relationship with Ethan Slater, who plays Buck, the boy who pines for Glinda the Good Witch, right? And Ethan Slater got slated for being a silly, goofy guy who plays SpongeBob. And also he had a child and a wife, and he left them. So Ariana reportedly hung out with his now ex-wife. She met the baby. She liked her Instagram posts, and then at some point in the timeline, whether it was before the divorce, after the divorce, they got together and Ethan got divorced, right? And the ex-wife came out saying that Ariana's not a girl's girl at all. And okay, yeah, the whole situation was very ethically not great. But let's talk about Ariana's singing voice. Her live performance of This Boy Is Mine, there was a tweet that said, oh my god, the Wicked cast really flat ironed out her tongue. Ariana has this reputation for mumbling a bit when she sings, but when people saw this performance, everyone was like, okay, they're in good spirits again. Because I think they thought that she was gonna sing Popular with like a R&B backing track, like the marketing. Left, right, east, and northwest, everything was Wicked. All I can think about is the landfill waste every time I see the poster now, lol. 400 brands were tied into the Wicked marketing campaign. They were selective, they said. Like how they did with Barbie Pink, the whole pink contrast green is a very easy visual identity to capitalize on. The color green has also been having its moment for a couple years now. Did I dye my hair for the Wicked movie? What are these rumors? Oh, sorry babe, I can't find my Wicked suitcase at the airport. It had all my Wicked Rice Krispies and the keys to my Wicked Lexus. And also my Wicked Advent calendar. The Kardashians were one of the first people to see it in the world. They had an early screening featuring all of this because they're the Kardashians and they can just hire literally anybody they want, like they're clowns. There was Wicked Mattel dolls that on the back said, told children to go to wicked.com. Which is not a site for children. From Stanley Cups to Starbucks, it was a reminder of truly wicked problems. Wicked problems in design and design thinking are problems that are difficult to define and difficult to solve. Think poverty, global warming, sustainability. How do we manage consumption, right? How do we balance effective promotions with ethically environmental considerations? As the dust settles down on your Wicked Lego sets and your Wicked H&M shirts at the thrift store, it seems truly that no one really does mourn The Wicked. Why is the PR so strange? The Wicked movie poster fiasco. So the poster for the movie came out. Here is the Broadway version for reference. And the way people were complaining about this movie poster, you would have thought they cast Jojo Siwa for Glinda or something, and Elphaba got replaced by like Kim Jong-un. People were overreacting, right? So a fan edited the poster to look more like the Broadway original, and Cynthia saw it. And Cynthia no likey. This is the wildest, most offensive thing I have seen. Equal to that awful AI all of us are fighting. Equal to people posing the question, is your green? None of this is funny. None of it is cute. It degrades me, it degrades us. The original poster is an illustration. I am a real life human being who chose to look right down the barrel of the camera to you, the viewer, because without words, we communicate with our eyes. Our poster is an homage, not an imitation. To edit my face and hide my eyes is to erase me, and that is just deeply hurtful. The meow green joke, I get that being a little bit weird, especially if someone's asking that to you up close and on like in real life. But at the same time, it's also a decades-old joke / reference. But I can understand it if it's like a bit distasteful and too much. It's like a harmless Broadway poster, but I think from the point of view of Cynthia, who's got a lot of hate, backlash, disgusting, vile racism from weirdos online, the stress and pressure of her role, knowing that there are millions and millions of fans who are like really particular about it, I feel like this was probably just the final straw and she just like snapped a little bit. Cynthia even admitted that she was just feeling like overprotective over the character of Elphaba, and she said, I probably should have called my friends, but it's fine. We can't forget to mention holding space.
I've seen this week, people are taking the lyrics of Defying Gravity and really holding space with that and feeling power in that.
I didn't know that was happening.
I've seen it, yeah.
That's really powerful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's what I wanted.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I didn't know that was happening.
I've seen it on a couple posts. I don't know how widespread, but you know, I am in queer media, so.
Yeah.
There was so much gravitas, truth, and power in those words that they could be a motivational poster. So we're making one using Kiddle, which is the design platform that I use for all the posters and graphics in this video. I'm not living or laughing or loving anymore. We are holding space. There is a whole swath of professional quality templates on here for any need, whether your need is Instagram posts, menus, t-shirts, mugs, book covers, bookmarks. Oh, poster. Oh, motivational poster. Kiddle is fun. It feels like a Pinterest inspo board, except now you can actually edit it. Even if you have kind of limited design experience, it's really intuitive. I'm feeling a lot of power from this font. I really like the whole vintage film vibes. Now we have to have Tracy on the poster. Everybody was clowning this interview, but when I went to watch the film, Tracy was right. When Elphaba was defying gravity, I'm sorry, but gravity was defying me because the tears were flowing out and I could not stop. The background remover tool makes advanced editing super quick and simple with gone, just like the colors in the movie. Sometimes I don't know what fonts to use, but I did know that I wanted the quote with the lyrics of to be defying gravity itself using Kiddle's advanced font editor. They recently partnered with Monotype, adding classics like Helvetica and Future to their massive library of over 1,000 fonts. You can just type in the vibes of the font you want, like Y2K or vintage, and find a font that would suit you instead of, you know, scrolling. I really like how this platform gives access to really professional looking designs very simply. You don't have to feel insecure about your lack of design skills if you're a beginner. If you're a professional, it's really good for mood boarding as well. This is the poster. Look at that. Now the film might be desaturated, but your wall doesn't have to be. Try Kiddle for free using my personal link in the description and let me know if you like it. But we can't talk about marketing without addressing the crying. I think we all cried. We had actresses who were crying because obviously they're feeling bummed about not getting the role. And the promotion for this film was like watching a therapy session just again and again. As someone who also cries when the music gets sad, I can't watch that cat. Meow, meow, meow. Oh God. Like, I get it. I think, you know what, I'm watching all these interviews where are saying, oh, it's too much, it's too fake, they probably hate each other in real life. Okay, parasocial projection. I feel like, did you forget that these are like two theater kids in probably their dream roles? The toll and the pressure of the work. They're probably tired from all the promotions. And I think it's like a feeling of safety and respect that they have for each other, where they're allowing themselves to be so emotionally vulnerable. And maybe there is a little bit of like a codependent relationship there. But like, we don't know these people. I personally feel like they're just very deeply connected to their character, and it just is deep for them. Like, Cynthia is a queer black woman, and her character is fighting for advocacy of the marginalized, whilst also finding self-liberation. Ariana is a pop star who faces an immense amount of public scrutiny and pressure from people talking about her weight, to talking about her marriage, to talking about how she can't sing. But she's finding kindness and solace in friendship, and ultimately her character is about self-preservation, which we'll talk about in the end. Even the director's been through a lot. The director couldn't even make it to the screening because he had 3 kids. In the making of this movie. They're just being emo about it. And speaking of being emo, so did we hold space? Here's my opinions on what I think the movie was like. AW after Wicked. The camera rolls over the undulating hills of Oz, which runs deep and green. And as we settle into No One Mourns the Wicked, She's Dead, and the celebration of the death of the wicked, evil witch of the West, there comes a glaring reality. For all the detail that went into physically bringing this to life, this joyous Oz, for example, with the architecture and the set design that pulls from loads of different cultures, like Venetian staircases, blue Portuguese tiles to make the experience feel, quote, familiar yet magical. Planting 9 million real tulips. Babes, that hay fever would kill me. Creating movement and wonder with this beautiful, gorgeous, circular bookcase. Or even subtle details in the costume, like the undulating waves of Madame Marvel's hair. Look at that. It's freaking clouds, man. Spiraling, ethereal gowns. I felt like it all got washed out by the washed outness. On my Instagram, you guys submitted your hot takes. We have 2 comments. The color grading looks awful, and the colors were so vibrant and lush. I'm going to assume that is sarcasm. I felt like the lighting was fine. I kind of liked it. But for me, the problem was the color. It had this pastel, pale sense to it, which the director did comment on, and he said it was to feel like Oz was based on reality, because if it was too vibrant and poppy, then you would be pulled away from the immersion of the story, which I feel like is BS. Low-key, because unless you're depressed, the world is not this great. Reality color grading is a trend, and one that I'm very much so not a fan of. And I feel like with this film in particular, when you have a world this rich and you spend all that money, like, look at this freaking train. I feel like it just feels like a shame. Wokeness. So there's some people that said Wicked was too woke because they don't like seeing black people on screen. And also, they said it was way too political. What? Let's address these allegations. Newsflash, the stage play is exactly the same and has the same story and morals, right? I don't know what they were watching when they went to watch the play, but okay. Wicked is political, and watching this straight off the bat of a fresh Trump presidency and the rise of global fascism, it really felt timely with the story's messaging. Elphaba is born green, and she is shunned by society for her skin color, even by her own parents. This means that she's brought up and raised by the animals. By the way, the animals in this film are like equal in society, or so we think. She lives a life very attuned to discrimination, and she sees the mistreatment of her sister who's disabled, and also just the imbalance between how they're raised. Her sister gets all the doting, the kindness, she gets all of the opportunities because she is quote-unquote normal skin. And so because of this, she has, I don't know, greenism. She yearns for the day that she can finally get rid of her skin color, at least in the beginning. She's deeply moved by a sense of justice that's deep inside her, which causes her to get emotional, and when she gets emotional, she gets magical. Meanwhile, stirring in Oz is a rising fascist movement. Animals should be seen and not heard. Animals are professors, they live amongst people, and they become the scapegoat and are blamed for all of the problems and ills in society. Although they're already integrated, the propaganda that is being spread at this time is that they are dangerous. It starts with the silencing of voices and moves on to the erasure of history. Sound familiar? Elphaba is one of the only characters in the film to not only question the caging of animals and this rhetoric, but to actually do something about it. One way to look at this is an allegory for the mistreatment of animals in our society. How do we value one life versus another? And another one is obviously an allegory for racism. Personally, I'm not a fan of world building where you have both humans and animals living, and the animals are like mistreated, and it's about racism in society. Although animal-like imagery is used for the purposes of dehumanization, for example, comparing people to rats, comparing people to being savages, having animalistic tendencies as like divisive metaphors. But when your animals are literally animal, like when you have a tiger and a goat, the messaging gets slightly not as strong. And when Elphaba discovers the secrets of who is actually behind all of this propaganda, and she wants to protect the literally now voiceless, guess what? She gets demonized as like a scary radical. Her green skin, an outward manifestation of her evil. A direct quote. I think this also touches on the whole ugly bad, pretty good assignment of morality based on how you look. It's very emblematic of the whole fascism and aesthetics link. We had one hot take, which was Michelle Yeoh was flop town. I feel like she wasn't flop town. At some parts, I did feel like the whole she is evil, her skin is green was very much so like, okay, Dr. Seuss. But then we gotta remember this is also a PG, and some people need help with media understanding morals and messages. Versus Glinda. There were some tweets that said Glinda is could do no wrong, and the opposite end of the spectrum was actually she was the evil character. I think Glinda is about as good of a witch as Elphaba is wicked. So this was Ariana's take.
She is strong enough to know that she will never choose that because she can't. And you can still love that person so much and acknowledge that that's going to be best for them, but it's not going to be best for me. So I do have to not self-abandon in this moment, and I have to stay where I am. I think she's really sure in that moment. I don't think that it's that she's not strong enough to go. I think that she's strong enough to not go.
I say that Glinda has strength in choosing herself. Like, she knows herself well enough to have strength to choose her own path and her wants and desires. I have to disagree with the actress who played her own character. I honestly just wouldn't call it strength. Glinda, at least in part 1, was giving white feminism to me. She likes the appearance of doing good deeds. She really values social hierarchy. Even if you're ugly, at least you have the chance to be popular. And although I do believe she really does have the capacity and really does care for Elphaba, for example, in the dancing scene, her dancing with her was one, in the grand scheme of everything, small, but for her, a very significant change and arc to her character. You could argue that it was driven by guilt, but I'd argue it's both guilt, but also compassion, because Elphaba does show her kindness, which she didn't expect. And to me, her character was really blonde and black. She's complaining about her boyfriend Fierro, and she's like, oh, who knew he cared so much about that silly old goat? Oh, I'm gonna change my name to Glinda instead of Galinda, in honor of him. It's like, babes, animals are literally being locked up. Yeah, they can't speak anymore. They're being killed as we speak. But you do your performative Glinda. Okay, very, very performative ally. Which I think reflects, which reflects reality sometimes. I personally don't believe in this movie that her not giving up the comforts of what she knows, her not giving up her ability to get status and career, I wouldn't call it strength. Maybe it's naivety, maybe it's the fact that, like, unlike Elphaba, who's grown up with animals, so she has that compassion for Glinda was barely aware of prejudice and had just started seeing that, hey, maybe this utopia I live in is actually not that great. She's brave enough to, like, dance with Elphaba, but she isn't there in her character yet to truly give up everything for a reality that's just barely shifted. Also, that dancing scene. Tears! That bubble, yeah, she was truly living in it. She'll help enough to let Elphaba be the radical one, right? Which, reality. But the weather madame preys on her hunger for success, and she ultimately becomes the face and the spokesperson for continuing propaganda. She knows this is wrong, but maybe she can be a bit more moderate about it, right? Yay, someone important to me at the time is dead, but you know what? She did have a hard life as well. What is the cost of her success? Maybe this washed out color grading is actually fitting. And so for some, This was truly too woke. I think they forgot that one of the most famous Elphabas was played by Idina Menzel, who is, guess what, a Jewish woman. Guess what, it was also allegory for anti-Semitism. And it wasn't just an enemies to lovers, friendship that's potentially gay, girly pop, let's defeat the bad guy, but with magic. Apart from all those grievances, I personally really did enjoy this film as a very visual person who... Okay, let me just show you. In 2019, I tweeted that I did not know that Defying Gravity was about literally flying and defying gravity, because I had no knowledge of what Wicked was about. I just knew the song Defying Gravity. I only listened to it on Spotify. And so when I saw the play, I was like, wait a minute, it's about flying. I feel like the film really does add a lot of richness and depth and detail. So you could say I was definitely not doing any space holding with those lyrics back then. And you know what? With all the mess that was the marketing and people thinking it was gonna be crap, it really was wicked